Well, for this project I'm going to be installing the No Fuss Flush, which is a holding tank rinsing kit. So I bought the basic kit, which includes the nozzle and a quick disconnect fitting. And I bought an installation kit, which includes not a lot, just a couple fittings and a through sidewall type port that you can connect the hose to. I also bought some GE Clear 100% silicone. Now the assembly instructions say to use clear silicone only. However, I talked to the manufacturer and he said you could use white silicone as long as it was 100%. So they're specifying clear silicone, I suppose, because that's generally where you get the 100%. I also bought, which did not come into the kit, a backflush preventer and some 5/8 inch tubing to run from the nozzle to the side of the coach, and a few brackets to help hold the tubing. So we're going to put the RV up on some 2x12s to give me a little more room underneath, and then we're going to back it up and go under and look at the holding tank and see what it's going to take. Well, here's the holding tank, the Blackwater tank, and I'm going to put the nozzle in here, and I think the location is going to be about up in here. The sensors are over here, and so I don't want to put it in here because I don't want it to spray away from the sensors, but if I put it here, some of the spray will spray into the sensors. And obviously you only have one shot at this when you drill a hole, and as well it should go without saying that this thing should be empty. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to clean this off here and then prepare a drill and drill the hole. Well, it's just too difficult to run the camera in one hand and drill in the other hand, so I didn't show any photo of me actually drilling the hole, but you can see that I got the drill in the hole, and as I pull it out, and luckily nothing dripped out, so it's empty. Now the one thing I do need to verify is that I didn't drill too close to any kind of a pipe inside, and I didn't, so this goes in all the way flush. The instructions say to cover the complete underside of the flange with silicone about 3/16 inch thick, which is, I may have gone a little overboard here, but I figure that it's not going to hurt in this situation. So now we've got the screws in, got it siliconed up. Now we just got to wait for it to dry before we continue on. So now I've got everything in place here. I've got the nozzle, the anti-siphon valve, and the clear plastic hose, and a couple cable ties just loosely wrapped to this pipe. I don't want to crush it. Now we're done with the passenger side of the RV, so now we're going to cross over and work under the driver's side. The next step is going to be to drill a hole here in the bottom quadrant for this, which is the inlet. We'll put it somewhere along there, about like that. I'm going to drill a 1 1/8 inch hole in here using a hole saw, and I'm going to start it backwards, and the reason for that is so that I don't crack the fiberglass. So I'm just going to eyeball about where I want to put it, because it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm through the first part. Okay, now I'm going to put it backwards. And so see, I did that without any cracking. Now I go forward again. And then I just got to clean out the hole. It's interesting to note here that the coring consists of fiberglass with a piece of Luan backed by a styrofoam, and then a backing of Luan, and then on the very back a piece of sheet metal. One thing I have to point out is whenever you drill a hole like this, when you have coring, which consists of wood sandwiched with styrofoam and wood like that, you have to protect that, because otherwise if water gets in here, it's going to delaminate this. So what I always do, and this is a trick I learned from boats, is I'm going to mix up some epoxy and paint the inside of this, coat it really well. And that epoxy will seal that hole, so we'll never get any delamination issues. Well, this can be kind of messy, so what I like to do is I like to put some tape here on over the cover of the fiberglass, because the epoxy will stain the fiberglass yellow. So just remember that, and just, you know, make a nice cover here so that that won't happen. Now the epoxy I'm using is this 2-part Loctite 5-minute, and 5 minutes is good here because it doesn't really require any structural strength, but you want it to cure fast enough so it doesn't all run out of the hole. So all we got to do now is just wait a few minutes for this to get tacky, and then we can continue. Well, I found that it was easier to put this through here first. This is the fitting that goes to the outside, and then hook this hose up last, because then you don't have to worry about twisting it or anything. You can just stick it on and clamp it down. Now I use Geocell, which is a really nice sealant on both inside and outside. The only issue is Geocell will attack styrofoam, so make sure that you get all that styrofoam real nice and sealed with epoxy first, and or make sure you don't get any of that Geocell into the styrofoam. And a little cautionary label here on top of the inlet, and we're all done with the installation part. And I'm going to wait for 24 hours before I test this. So I'm going to test this tomorrow, and so then we'll continue on this video by fast forwarding to tomorrow. Okay, here's the test. We've got water running into the inlet, and we actually have clean water coming out. So it's a pretty good flow rate. Now when I first tested this, I did get a leak, so I didn't get one of the hose fittings tight. The only other issue I need to bring up is when you go to the dump station, sometimes the non-potable water, the rinse-out water, does not have a threaded end to it. Then you want to get something called this water bandit, which threads in to the end here, and it's designed to hold something that doesn't have threads. So you can put that in here like that, and then you can set the rinse out hose right into there without having to thread it on. So you're going to want to buy one of these as well. And you're also going to want to dedicate a water hose just for rinsing. And I've done that with this hose. I purposely not made it a white hose. I have a hose bag here that I've spray painted B for black, and that's where I store that particular hose, so we don't mix it up with our potable water hose, which would be yucky. When I selected the No Fuss Flush, I actually compared 3 different flush systems: the No Fuss Flush, the Camco Tornado, and the Camco quickie-flush. To watch a shootout of those 3 systems that I compared, follow the link below.